I'm your host today, Shirley Thompson, and I want to welcome you to Unity of Vancouver. We warmly welcome all people, all faiths, and all lifestyles. Unity of Vancouver is situated on the ancestral, unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples, who have lived here since time immemorial, and it is here that we work, live, and learn together. So now, please join me in our opening invocation. All together now. There is one presence and one power active in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotent. Our guest speaker today is Reverend Terry Shea. And over the last 2 years, Terry has excelled in bringing us stimulating, relatable, and practical talks with pointers for navigating the spiritual path, and we expect that today will be no exception. Please join me now in giving a very warm welcome to Reverend Terry Shea.
I'm talking about a subject today that is very close to my heart. And I'm grateful to Beverly for bringing it so into focus on why it is so close to my heart. And it's because my level of anxiety, our level of anxiety as a society, as a people, it used to be here. And now it's about here. And when your level of anxiety is there, it doesn't take much to push you over the edge. Have you noticed? It doesn't take much at all. You're driving along and somebody does something unusual, and the next thing you know, well, I'm going to own this. I have lost it completely, you know. I was at a lacrosse game the other night for my nephew plays with the Victoria Shamrocks. And I was there, and I don't even know anything about lacrosse. I don't even really understand the game at all. But I found myself screaming at the ref, "What's wrong with you, ref? Are you blind?" Just that little bit to take me up over the edge, and I'm wondering what the heck is going on. The counter to that, of course, all this stuff that's going on, has to be that thing that I believe in more than anything, and that is goodness. And more than goodness, because goodness is how it looks when we wear it. But where does that goodness come from? Like what? It is the good. It is the good, capital G good. It is the Platonic ideal that we as a culture have been living with for over 2,000, 2,500 years. We've had within our consciousness, within our mind, this idea that there is a good to aspire to. And that's what we're doing. There is a good, there is a true, there is a beautiful. That's what Plato said. And that's what we have hung on to. You know, the Greeks were fascinated with this idea of what is the good life. And even over the course of Greek history, ancient history, from 500 BC and on, their idea of good changed and transformed. And here we are in the 21st century, wondering, where is our good? What is our good? What's it all about? I'm wearing this shirt today. It was a gift. It's a very precious gift to me. It is, for those of you who know about these things, it is the artwork of Basquiat, a very controversial New York painter who committed suicide some years ago. It's unfortunate because now he could have been a multi-millionaire with his art. I'm wearing it because it looks kind of like a clown costume in a way, and even my shoes are kind of clownish today. Francis of Assisi was called le jongleur de Dieu, God's juggler. And the jugglers were also known as fools, the fool in the court. And so today, I'm bringing you this stuff as God's fool, as someone who is not really living in this time, but is seeing this time through a different view. Francis revolutionized spirituality in his day by taking on the rich and showing them what was the wealth that was available in poverty. For those of you who don't know, Francis was the son of a very wealthy merchant. His father disowned him when he decided to one day take everything he owned, take his clothes off in the main square, be naked, and leave his family. And his father disowned him, except that whenever Francis came to town dressed in his rags, his father would leave the house and go out and follow him in the street, berating him and calling him names and telling him what a disgusting and disreputable person he was. It got so bad that Francis actually brought one of the monks with him who was a bit goofy and would just say all kinds of really wonderful, crazy things to Francis in one ear while his father berated him in the other. And it's the only way he could do it. Well, that's sort of how I feel today. I have God speaking to me in one ear, saying, this is the truth of you. And then I have everything else that's going on in the world speaking in the other ear. And sometimes it's a real cacophony in there. But what I remember is in Genesis, when God looked out on what he created, he called it good. But in Hebrew, the word he called it was tov. Tov. And tov is good, but it's not good as opposed to evil. It is good as in balance, beauty, truth. And so God wasn't saying that what he did was really good and the rest was whatever you want to call it. He was saying, what I have created is in balance. It is true and it is beautiful. What a stretch it is to look out at the world today and see it as good, true, and beautiful. In the 19th century, it is said that we saw the dissolution of religion. In the 20th century and the 21st century, we are seeing what really looks like the dissolution of a philosophy that has sustained us for 2,500 years. So what is left? If, in fact, the philosophy that we have believed in is dissolving, is there good on the other side of it? Well, I'm here to tell you today there is. But it's going to be a different road than we're expected to travel. The original title of my talk was The Fragility of Goodness. And I'm grateful that it was massaged a little because it brought me back to what I really want to talk about. Yes, of course, Goodness feels fragile, but we must remember where it comes from. Martha Nussbaum was the woman who wrote the book called The Fragility of Goodness. She was a professor of classics at Brown University. She's still a much touted speaker and writer. And she says this, charming, I found it when she first said it. She said, I wake up in the middle of the night thinking of Hecuba. Now, in Hamlet, the player king says, who is she to Hecuba, or Hecuba to her, that she should think of her? So you might be asking yourself the same thing. Who's Hecuba? Does anybody out there remember who Hecuba is? Look at that. Okay, Hecuba was the wife of King Priam, and King Priam was the king of Troy. And at the fall of Troy, Hecuba had lost her husband, all of her children but one, her kingdom, her wealth, her power. She had lost everything. She only had one child left, Polydorus, her youngest. And she had trusted him to her friend in a neighboring kingdom. She gave whatever wealth she had left to her friend to look after her child. She herself had been reduced to slavery. And one day she was out walking on the beach, and she saw a body washed up on the shore. And when she got close and examined it, she realized that it was the body of her child. Her friend had betrayed her, had killed her child, and taken the money entrusted to him. And the chorus later in the play says that in that moment, the last vestiges of goodness in her were undone. And she came apart. And she became like a dog, a wild dog. And she enacted a terrible revenge on her friend. She tricked him, telling him that she had more wealth to give him. And she murdered all of his sons, one after another. And then, after he had watched her kill all of them, she gouged out his eyes. Now, the Greeks were a pretty bloodthirsty group of people, as you can imagine. But what they were doing was they were educating themselves through plays like Hecuba. They were educating themselves about violence and about the cost of violence with respect to our good. And so when they say that Hecuba became like an animal, what they're saying basically is if you remove good, if you remove our good from us, we become less than human. The Greeks had conquered almost the entire Mediterranean except for one island. And they went to the residents of the island who had remained neutral and said, "We want to take you over. You'd be best to just surrender to us." And they said, "Why can we not be your friends?" And they said, "Because your friendship is more noxious to us than if you were enemies, because it makes us look weak." And so the inhabitants of the island said, "We will resist." And they did. Until they were betrayed from within. And this is an important piece, symbolic. The city was betrayed from within. And the Greeks went in. They slaughtered every man of military age and enslaved all of the men and women and burned the city. It was this event in Greek history that led to the writing of the Oresteia, those plays, and about the Euripides teaching people about the cost of the loss of our good. When I wrote the abstract to this, I said that the Greek plays were they were enacted in daylight. It wasn't like going into the theater here. They were in daylight and they were in an amphitheater so that you could look around and you could see your neighbors watching the play and reacting to what was going on. You could, in fact, see goodness or lack thereof in the reactions of those who were out there playing. And as I was thinking about that, I was thinking, it doesn't feel that different than what's going on in our world today. We have immediate access to what everyone on the planet thinks about what is going on. We don't have to watch them, but we certainly get to hear them. Their voices are everywhere. And so, what is ours to learn here? What is ours to learn? Is it that we will be overwhelmed by the lack of good? Or will we somehow triumph? Will we somehow make sense of what has been happening? And will we, in fact, be the agents of the change we would like to see? And this is where James Finley comes in and contemplation. James's book is called The Healing Path, and he talks about his own healing from his own trauma and from the lack of good that he encountered. And he says one day that he was in doctoral studies and he was invited to be a part of a program for alcoholics at a VA, a Veterans Administration facility. And he went in for the initiation. It was a large room. There were chairs all the way around the room, and in the middle of the room were 2 chairs. And the new person who was being initiated into the group came in and sat in one of the chairs, and then the facilitator came and sat across from him. And the facilitator said to the man sitting across from him, "What do you love the most?" And the man sitting across, the new initiate, said, "My wife." And everybody all around the room went, "Bullshit!" And he was stunned that they all had screamed. And so he said, "What do you love the most?" And he said, "My children." And everybody screamed again, "Bullshit!" And so it went until finally the facilitator said, "What do you love the most?" And he said, "Alcohol." And everyone stood up and cheered. And one by one, all of those men sitting around all came forward, took him in their arms, hugged him, and welcomed him. Well, it didn't take very long until he was reduced to sobbing, wailing, and crying, because those men did not believe the lie that he was telling himself, but they did believe the good that was in there. And they were committed to bringing it forth. Thomas Merton wrote that in the depths of our true self, where we are one with God, we are not subject to the brutality of our own will. When we know we are one with God, we are not subject to the mistakes and the lack of good that we sometimes give ourselves to. And so what's the solution? Work on being one with God. Work on being one with God. And I'm going to come back to you now to what I said was the dissolution of our philosophy. We perceive the light with our eyes first. So that's the sensory perception of good. We see good people. We see people doing good. We see it. Then we see the light with our intelligence. We understand good. We understand what it means to be good. We understand what good looks like when we see it. But sensory understanding of good and intellectual understanding of good will not bring us to good. What will bring us to good is to live in the good itself. To live as a good person. Let me put it to you this way. We have come to think that our intelligence is what is building the world, what is creating society, what is making life better. We have come to believe that our intelligence is doing that. We're smart enough to do it. We've got everything we need. We're educated. We're cultured, etc., etc. Intelligence is not building the world. Intelligence is ordering a world that our consciousness has already created. What I mean by that is our understanding, appreciation for, and desire to live from the good is the consciousness that we bring to life. And once we bring that, we create a just, honorable, and good world. And we do that with our intelligence. But unless we live from the good to begin with, then all we'll be doing is just rearranging the parts, rearranging the elements of good. Think of it this way. When God said, "Let there be light," and light was, and he saw that it was good, he was speaking from, and by the way, I want everybody to recognize, I know that's a story. It's a myth, right? That understanding of the world is being itself. That understanding of the world is being itself. So, a story. There was a rabbi who every day after lunch would go out for a long walk. It would help him digest his food. It would also help him change his thoughts and his ideas. And one day he got quite wrapped up in his thoughts, and he walked further than he normally would. And suddenly he found himself in a very unfamiliar place. And advancing a little bit further, he came across a huge wall with a locked gate, parapets, towers, and he was amazed. And while he was standing there looking at the wall, a voice from high up said, "Who are you and what are you doing here?" And he thought to himself, I feel like asking the same question. Who are you? What are you doing here? And the voice said again, who are you and what are you doing here? And the rabbi said, how much are they paying you? And the guy said, what? He said, how much are they paying you? And he said, I asked you who you are and what are you doing here? And he said, I know. How much are they paying you? And he said, why? He said, I'll give you twice as much as being paid to come to my house and ask me those questions every day. We are all here on this planet to ask ourselves these two questions. As often as possible, and to have as many people in our lives ask us those questions as often as possible. We are here to have the circumstances of our lives ask us those questions as often as possible. I don't know what you're going through right now, and I don't know how what's going on in the world is affecting you. I can only speak for how it's affecting me. And there are days when I can barely stand it. There are days when tears and sadness and grief are so present that I can barely hold it together. And I'm sure I'm not alone. But whatever circumstances are there, the question they are asking, they are prompting is, who are you? Or what are you? And what are you doing here? For myself, in the midst of tragedy, challenge, difficulty, pain, I get to tell myself, I'm God in expression. I am the good. I am an expression of the good, never diminished, never lost, never eclipsed. I am the good of God. Now, of course, the next question is the harder one. And what are you doing about that? Well, on my best days, I'm not abusing people in traffic too much. I'm treating people with kindness as much as possible. I am expressing the good that I am, in spite of whatever is happening. My last word for you today is this. If all that we know should be swept away, and let's hope that's not the case. But if all that we know is swept away, can you still know that you are God in expression? Can you still, as Beverly sang, say, it's good, it's all good, it's all good? And say it with more than just hope, but with absolute conviction. We are called in this time to do nothing less. So ends the lesson, and so it is. Namaste.
Thank you, Terry. Thank you. tears and see me lay down your troubled years and shame. No reason left to fear me, just hear me call me by my name. Reveal your most colorful facade, your spirit's dreaming and connecting to the stars on the journey to your God. The winds of change are blowing and hope is riding on the crest. You're not sure where you're going, but life will take you where it's best. Your jeweled crown waits at the temple's door. The heavenly angels are offering you more on the journey to your God. Your light is on, take the message. Green fields roll and the rivers rush to the sea. The danger's gone, take the message. Sunlight melts the last of the winter's freeze. Your light is on, accept the message. You have asked for it to come, and it's yours for the taking, and the taking has begun. The tears outside your window are tears that you have cried before. At times you've been a stranger, just standing waiting at the door. Embrace this pain that's keeping you at bay. The love you gain is yours to guide the way on the journey to your God. Your light is on, take the message. Green fields roll and the rivers rush to the sea. The danger's gone, take the message. Sunlight melts the last of the winter's freeze. Your light is on, accept the message. You have asked for it to come, and it's yours for the taking, and the taking has begun. Your light is on, take the message. Green fields roll and the rivers rush to the sea. The danger's gone, take the message. Sunlight melts the last of the winter's freeze. Your light is on, take the message. Green fields roll and the rivers rush to the sea. The danger's gone, take the message. Sunlight melts the last of the winter's freeze. Your light is on, accept the message. You have asked for it to come, and it's yours for the taking, and the taking has begun, and the taking has begun, and the taking has begun.
Thank you, Beverly and Bill. And Beverly co-wrote the last two songs. And thank you again, Reverend Terry. We think you delivered. And we are also pleased to announce another fun-filled Unity Coffee House this coming Wednesday, June 12th at 7:30. Yay! Join us for a captivating music, poetry, and general merriment featuring the talents of Beverly Elliott, Linda Kidder, Nathan Aswell, Neil Thompson, David Simons, Chris Nolan, Stacy Collins, and more. Bring your favorite sweet or appetizer to share if you fancy, and immerse yourself in the magic of live entertainment. This event is by donation, and it's downstairs, so they really let loose. Join Fern and Ruth in a ceremony circle outside, weather permitting, and celebrate and recharge with the bright flame of the sun, Letha, allowing its potency to balance our beings and release that which no longer serves. This circle will take place on Sunday, June 23rd at 7:30 p.m. We meet in the lower hall and enter through the downstairs door. Be sure to save the date for the next ceremony circle event, which is July 22nd. And you can find all the dates upcoming on the bulletin board outside in the lobby. It's $20 for the fee, so come out and celebrate the manifestation of spirit as summer comes. And just a reminder to get your tickets for Beatles Night here at Unity on Friday, July 19th at 7:30. This will be another amazing tribute concert with 2 hours of live Beatles music played to perfection. The tickets are just $25 and are now available on Eventbrite. How many of you have been to one of the Beatles concerts before? How many of you are coming again this time? Yeah, I wouldn't miss it. Bring your friends. And don't forget, you can deepen your spiritual practice during the week with our Course in Miracles study group, which takes place on Tuesdays from 12:30 to 2:30 in the lower level. And you can find all information of our upcoming classes and events on the bulletin board in the lobby, so please check it out. And I have some sad news to share. We just found out the other day that our beloved member, Ralph Steves, unfortunately passed 5 months ago, but we weren't informed and we haven't been able to reach him. Ralph was a member here in the late 1980s. He was just a blessed soul. He used to sit over there, and he gave so much to Unity of Vancouver. He served in so many ways for so many years. And we just know that Ralph is in a better place, and he's with his beloved Lynn, who passed a few years ago as well. And I just wanted you all to know, we all wanted you to know about Ralph, and hold him in your prayers. We know he's in a better place, and we are happy for that part. Yeah. So today's affirmative prayer chaplains are, filling in for Raymond Lancaster is Barb Richards, Marina Marcos, and myself, Shirley Thompson, and on Zoom, Len Satoff. And to have a confidential prayer with one of our chaplains, simply come up to the front after all the music is finished. They'll be over here, and they would love to support you in prayer. And just know that everything is held in complete confidentiality. And if you're watching on Zoom, I'll show you how you can participate in just a few minutes. Please join us downstairs after the service today for coffee, tea, cookies, and conversation. And now, as we bring everything to a close, please stand and join us together in our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
And now we will all join together and sing the peace song. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as creator
If you're on YouTube, thank you so much for joining us. We send you our love and look forward to seeing you next week.